Activities are still ongoing to mark the 75th International Human Rights Day, which is on the 10th of December annually. The theme for this year's celebration is freedom, equality, and justice for all. The Nigerian Bar Association Ikeja branch is deepening conversations on Chapter 4 of the Nigerian Constitution, which provides for several fundamental human rights of Nigeria. Experts are worried over the spate of extrajudicial killings, illegal detentions, torture, and the need to equip the police and other security forces. Talk about human rights for persons living with disability. Joining me is Executive Director, Center for Disability and Inclusion Africa, Yinka Olaito. Thank you for joining us on the news this hour. The focus this year speaks to freedom, equality, and justice for all. How much of human rights have been upheld, particularly for persons living with disability in Nigeria?
Yeah, thank you. Good afternoon, and good afternoon, listeners. For persons with disability, the journey to freedom is still a long way. Yes, we have made a lot of progress in Nigeria. We made a little progress, so to say. Let's not say a lot, because when we say a lot, it means that we are assuming that persons with disability are not getting the right attention, or their right is now being given to them. Let's talk about the positives that we have had. After Act, which is Discrimination Against Persons with Disability 2008, had been enacted and approved by President Buhari. We also know that the Senate is reviewing that act now, and they are looking at the possibility of ensuring that a portion of it which stipulated that only the public buildings must be accessible is being reviewed also, that it can also include the private buildings. It's also been, it's part of the review that the 5% allocation in terms of the job right of person with disability should also be reviewed and enforced. But with the inception of President Bola Tinubu has signed the African Charter of Human Rights on Persons with Disability. But our question is, it's not about signing Charter of Human Rights. We already signed into United Nations Charter of Human Rights of Persons with Disability, which is almost the same thing. What has been done? The right of the person with disability is still being denied. In terms of education, in terms of there's no inclusive education as much as we would want to believe. There also the fact that the inclusive health is not in the top notch presently. Assessing the hospitals for their health is still not 40% across the nation. Besides that, you also notice that most of the doctors are not trained in sign language. So when the person with disability, particularly visually impaired, or somebody with hearing challenges, want to go to the hospital, the doctors are not there. And this is a bid on their inclusive right in terms of health. Yes, we must also acknowledge the fact that on Thursday, President Tinubu actually instituted a committee that task force should be enforced to begin to take to lockouts all the public building without accessibility, because accessibility is an issue. Our roads are not accessible for persons with disability, and that is when you talk of freedom of movement around, that has not been easy. Right. So with all this, how far have we gone? We're still far from it. Health, the education, health rights, and job rights. How many organizations are actually giving 5% allocation that is in the law or in the act that have been promulgated? Yes, about 26 of the 36 states in Nigeria have actually enacted person with disability law, and a lot of other fringe benefits or human rights that are associated with that law are still not in practice. Right. In Lagos alone, we have LASUDA and many others, but we still find out that this has not really, nothing much has changed.
I hear you.
So we call on government.
You're saying there is more that has to be done apart from just enacting laws. I don't know if you think we've been able to identify the other critical stakeholders outside government, that has the responsibility of curtailing discrimination in this regard.
Yeah, the society has its own fault, because our society still have the position of sympathy, which is not the idea thing. You sympathize with them, but that's where it ends. Yes, we also know that the private organization and individual have their role, because most of the offices for rental today are not really accessible. But the onus is on government to provide the enabling environment to bite as much as they are talking. Yesterday, we did make a proclamation. We must go beyond talk and speeches and fanfare. We must go into the part where we now begin to bite. Yes, we appreciate President Bola Tinubu's instruction on Thursday that says that from 2024, which is the year that the Data Act, Information Against Persons with Disability Act 2008 said that by 2024, all public buildings must be accessible. But go to our government buildings, go to our secretariats all over. Are they accessible? How many of those buildings are accessible? Those that are accessible with a level of strength or what we call something a person with physical disability can actually go with, they are not that pronounced. Even going to our international airport, I was in Abuja yesterday and I was coming back to Lagos. I look at the accessibility of Abuja International and many other airports in Nigeria. It was not there. The lift, the elevator is not working. And then the other channel that should be able to make it easier for a person with the ability to move from where you do your check-in to the boarding room, they are not there. The only available opportunity is the stair. How many of those? So it means that we are already sidelined people who are who are physically challenged, who are using wheelchair. And so these are the challenges that are near. And when you look at the health in the health rights, which is health rights, what is government doing? Yes, it is a collaborative effort. We know that it's a collaborative effort. The private citizen and the private organization has their role to play, and the community has their role to play by ensuring that we do not stigmatize every person with disability. But the fact also remains that is the government should provide an enabling environment.
Absolutely.
Government has said that it is health. It's health. Health is free for person with disability. They have said that job right 5% of that means that if you have 100 employees, 5% of that employee should be. Is government enforcing that? We can have a lot of laws on ground. It is not about the law. So what I want to suggest is we must go beyond speeches. Government must go beyond speeches. Also, we must go back to our policy. I want to assure you that we have good policy on paper. All the Data Act, United Nations Act on Persons with Disability Rights, African Charter of Human Rights for Persons with Disability. These are good policy paper that is documented. But what are we doing about them?
I agree with you that's a multi-stakeholder effort. We look forward to some changes in the future. Executive Director, Center for Disability and Inclusion in Africa, Yinka Olaito, thank you for sharing your thoughts with us on the news this hour.
Thank you.